Hello, Jess Too Good here, and today I'm taking a look at the LEGO Vikings 2005 Viking Ship Challenges the Midgard Serpent with 585 pieces, 6 minifigures, and retailed for $50 back in the day. Now this is a huge set, pretty darn rare set. It does have a flap open box, which does happen with some of these older rare sets. I'm going to go all the way to the top to kind of show what's going on. But my gosh, I love this diorama of all of the sets, at least the 2005 sets. I do own this small one, but I am growing this collection with hopes to owning this one soon enough. At the bottom, we do have a good look at the ship and some of its features. Sorry if I'm getting too ahead of myself, because usually I save the box for the end, but I just want to get this cumbersome box out of the way. Of course, my copy does have sealed bags. There wasn't a sealed box. And there are some interesting loose pieces, like these big ship kind of bases. And I just like the shaping on them to kind of fit that that Vikings theme. Some more big loose pieces. I'm sure there's some cool, like maybe a poster or something there, but let's get this all built up. Here's the set all built up. Now let's take a look at those minifigures. So with the minifigures of the Vikings line, there's a lot that are reused across the sets. None in this set are actually exclusive to the set, but still, we have the Viking King, who's quite rare throughout the LEGO Vikings line, with his golden Viking helmet, which doesn't appear in too many of the sets. The face print and torso print, which also appears in a small amount of LEGO Castle 2007 and 2008 sets. Also, there's this sword, which the sword design may look a little bit unfamiliar, but that was used a lot throughout the LEGO Knights Kingdoms 2 line in 2004, 2005, and 2006. Here we get it in a nice gold. And there's an older style cape right here, which doesn't cover any back torso printing or anything like that. But it is that style that has a little bit of a harder material than the ones nowadays. But that is it for the Viking King. The next 5 minifigures are just generic Viking soldiers. This one actually has one of the more rare face prints in the LEGO Vikings line, because I don't even know if it appeared outside of the LEGO Vikings line with the face printed on this light gray minifigure head. I do love these speckled helmets right here, but they're not actually accurate because the Vikings actually didn't have horns on the side of their helmet. This LEGO Vikings from Series 20, which just released in 2020, is a lot more accurate to real Vikings. This next minifigure has more of that speckled armor I love. I especially love this little breastplate at the front. That looks fantastic, and it's unfortunately the only one you get in this set. At the back, you can see more of that really cool design on the helmet, the breastplate, and the battle axe head. Also, the face print, I think, was eventually used for the LEGO Fantasy era Castle King. And his printing underneath is actually the same as the last minifigure we took a look at, so no need to remove that breastplate. This next minifigure just looks like a regular guy who put on a Viking helmet, honestly. But he does have a different torso than all the other minifigures in this set. The face print itself is just really common around the 2005 year when this set came out. But I really like the look of this next minifigure, who has a different torso from all the other characters in this set. And this face print, which is very Viking-like and didn't appear much outside of the LEGO Vikings line. And then there's this guy who has a torso that is different from all other characters in the set. A face print that's also different from other characters in this set that was actually kind of uncommon. It did appear in LEGO Castle, though. And what seems to be a halberd as opposed to a battle axe. But either way, that is it for the minifigures of this set. Now let's go back to the build. Anyway, so back to the build of the set. There's a Viking ship and the Midgard Serpent. So the build for the Viking ship is massive for a $50 set. I actually really like the sizing of this, considering it's one of 2 main builds. The sizing of the sail is incredible as well, where it's just this one big cloth piece. Also, LEGO made some new pieces for the boat's base, since this design has a more Viking look to it. But they ended up reusing those for LEGO Castle in the Fantasy era, which was around 2007 to 2008. You can see the opposite side has a very similar look. Starting at the front, you can take a look at that texture on that boat piece that was made just for this set. And this is the only way to get it in reddish brown, because those other castle sets had it in a dark brown and I think a black or a red. Looking at the underside, you can see how that piece is made and how it can attach to some bricks. Also, they use some Technic pins to get the catapult section in place. We'll take a look at that later, but I wanted to highlight the dragon head at the front, which is an iconic feature of a lot of these Viking ships. This uses some interesting pieces as well, with this Fenris jaw at the bottom, which is from another Viking set I reviewed long ago, and also this dragon jaw with the beak there. Both of those were specific to the Vikings line, but they were used sometimes outside of sets. Like I think this was even used in an Indiana Jones set. This piece right here was used in some other Viking sets. Very hard to get in that dark red coloring. And they also used those castle batwing pieces to kind of just add to the dragon head design. And that's just attached via some bricks. Moving on from the dragon head, there's 2 stickers of the set, which are used for shields. Now, this is before LEGO had a really good round shield piece, so they had to use this Technic disc attached to one of these T connections with a sticker at the front. Weird that they only have these 2 stickers in this set. They might have well just printed on these. Sorry, this little guy was stuck at the back, but it has a red design. And if you want to see how those look with the Viking minifigures, doesn't look that bad even if it's not a specific shield piece. Putting the shield back, this catapult right here has full rotation because it's on a little swivel plate. And there's even a side so that you can put one of the Vikings to control the catapult. Very simple seat there. But to control the catapult, it's a simple mechanism I've seen before in themes like Castle and even LEGO Power Miners from around this time. Basically, you line up these missiles, which are a very simple Technic build of this ball and then this pin at the back. And once you put that in place on the beam, it lines up with this piece, which this piece is a LEGO soccer piece. It actually has like a spring there, and it was used to do the LEGO soccer games and everything with the play feature. But you push back on this, missile lines up, and your missile goes flying, which, holy crud, that shot too. Once you run out of ones to shoot, well, you can just easily reload them. Just lift the beam up and put the missiles back in. And now you're ready for another round. Either way, at the front, this 4x4 shield disc with the printing is used 3 times in the set. That's used at the side of the boat where we have a row of 4 shield designs all printed. This is also present on the opposite side with the 4 shield designs. Also, both sides use these oar builds, which are connected via a piece that has a connection at the base and then a Technic pin at the other end. And then this big oar piece that is not the usual minifigure ones, but rather one that has another part at the end and then a pole connection all the way through. And each side uses 2 of those in green and 1 of those in brown. And the catapult is actually really easy to remove from the ship. It is just on 1 single Technic pin, so you could remove it there and set it up on the ground if you'd like. Anyways, moving back onto the deck of the ship, there's a weapon holder to the left of the catapult. There's also a booze barrel to the left of the weapon holder. This middle section of the deck has a bird roast as well, which you can spin around. And you can see those little chicken or turkey legs get roasted with 2 flames in the middle there. I also like how they have this cover at the top brick built. And then there's a little throne for the king. The design for that throne doesn't really have an area to sit, but I do like the elegant look with the torches at the back. Also, this part right here has some interesting shaping with the back end of the ship, where they use some disc pieces to get that all built up. Other than that, if you move right underneath the throne, there's a secret treasure chest, which can be accessed just by moving up this ladder here. And inside the treasure chest, there's 3 gems, which are all the same color. So I wonder what they're collecting there, but it's a really nice translucent light blue. Right in front of that throne, there's a cage, which you could put a minifigure in there, I guess if they're trapped as prisoner, but they don't really give any prisoner minifigures to put inside there. You can actually close it by pushing up this clipped part, putting it over that opening, and now the opening can't open unless you move the clipped part. Also, there's a feature to raise or lower the cage, which uses a string function. I know I hate LEGO strings too, But this also uses a locking feature as well, where this part kind of keeps it in place since it's a very heavy cage. And you could raise it by lifting up the lock and pushing the winch to the left or right. Once that's in place, you drop the lock and the cage stays in place. It is actually pretty effective, but it's a pain in the ass to set up because of that string. One of my favorite parts of the set is the sail, because it is just this huge cloth piece with a beautiful design. They attach that via using some of these bigger stick pieces, and all the way at the top of the sail is a little tiny red flag at the top of that mast there. And finally, taking a look of the ship from the other side, there's not too much else different, except right here there was a sword holder. But that's it for the ship build. Now let's take a look at the Midgard Serpent. So for the build of the Midgard Serpent, I love this. I mean, it looks fantastic with some specialized pieces, not only for this one animal, but from other themes that you wouldn't expect, like some bionicle pieces and such. Compare it to the size of a minifigure and you can see how tall it is. So the specialized part of this whole creature is this head. This only ever appeared in this one build, in this one set. Very interesting piece that is very serpent-like. You even have some snout detailing at the front there. Nice ridges and kind of shaping for this headpiece, even with the little slits here. The horns at the top, or the spikes at the top, are prone to falling off pretty easily, which is a little annoying, but not a big deal. You can open up the mouth, which the under part is a piece that we see quite a bit, but you get it in sand green. There's two more fangs under there, and they use the LEGO Diver Flipper piece in red for the tongue, which works very well. But this part right here at the neck is a piece from LEGO Bionicle. I think it's from like the 2003 Rockshi line, if I'm pronouncing that right, as is this little, I guess, spike part in the middle there. This is the only time we're ever getting that spike part in a white, and this is the only time we're getting that Bionicle part in a dark green. And the head connects that middle section via a ball joint. And this part is kind of interesting because it's attached via a Technic pin, but it just kind of flaps into place, covering up a 4x4 plate build. And I don't know, that looks a little sloppy to me with that area of the bricks sticking out. You do have two red spikes to the side, and they use this sand green underside as well. This part with the two flippers connects right underneath there via a socket joint, which you get some positioning on that socket joint. Also, they have these flipper pieces from the LEGO Dino 2000 line in a sand green, which is kind of interesting. Same underside piece once again in a sand green. This connects via a socket joint to the next section, which has a dark green top, some red spikes to the side, and then another green under part, but a little bit longer for the sand green part this time. Another socket joint. This section has more dark green sloped pieces, another set of those sand green flippers that are really nice to get, and some more sand green underside parts. And then this next section has a socket joint, dark green top, sand green underside. Next section, socket joint, sand green bottom, dark green top side. These dark green spikes coming from the side, which are really nice to get in that coloring. This dark green tail, and then one last dark green spike. All that makes for a really nice tail section, but it's time to have fun posing this guy. With all the socket joints, it's really easy to get snake-like positions like this where they're almost in a coil. Though unfortunately you can't get it standing up on its tail alone because it will fall one way or the other. Though that is it for the builds of this set, let's take a look at the packaging and then the final verdict. At the start, we already took a pretty good look at the front and inside of the box. And then the back has some even more nice artwork. I like this deep sea one to the right. They even have an alternate build of the set at the end of the instructions, which the instructions itself is just one booklet, which is kind of ragged and tagged now. Unfortunately, no ads for any of the other sets. Even to this day, this set is still one of a kind. We never got a Viking longship of this scale again, and the design for the Serpent is very articulate and unique. I was actually surprised at how much articulation it has, how many positions you could put it in. the build for the Viking ship, beyond just being absolutely gorgeous and something that is very iconic but very unique to this one set, does use some great pieces with the build of the ship itself, and also the minifigures are varied in their interesting prints and pieces. So I highly recommend getting this one secondhand if you can, used, but if you get it new, it might be too much, so I would just say to cool down on that. It would be cool to see LEGO take another more accurate look at Vikings, not just with the minifigures, but with a build like this. But that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Bye.